Hi, it's Mr. S, and in this video, I'm going to talk about the distributive property. This is the part 2 of the video, and I have the part 1. It's more focused on multiplication, and I introduced a specific technique when you are doing multiplication, so please check that one as well. In this video, I will focus on distributive property and expanding an expression, so that helps you with solving in equations. When you're doing equations, you will see the multi-step equations will have parentheses, and you have to have the distributive property. I'll also talk about the FOIL method, which is a specific type of distributive property. And yeah, that's the two main things, right? So review of the part 1, these two are the things I did. I'm not going to talk about it that much. I did multiplication, talk about multiplication, and also I did talk about the breakdown calculation. If you are curious, please check that one out. Right, so in CTM, the algebra tiles, I think I've showed you that when I was doing the equations video, and I'm going to use the same website again to show the expanding expressions distributive property. So in this website, I'm going to go to expand. Alright, the first step it says is to build your model. Over here, we're going to build the model over here. Here and here. It says 4 times 3x. 4 and 3x is multiplied. So it's kind of like the length and width of your rectangle, 4 and 3x, because this multiplication is kind of like finding the area. Multiply two things, length times width, you get an area, right? So over here, we're going to model the length or the width. So I'm going to put 4 on the left side and the 3x on the top to model the length and width. Done. Then I'm going to expand. That means multiply 1 times x gives you x. 1 times x gives you x. 1 times x gives you x. 1 times x is x. And I'll keep doing that. 1 times x, 1 times x. Right here, 1 times x. I'm just multiplying the row 1 and then column x. That's all I'm doing. Oh, and once I finish that, I have a rectangle right here. This product, after I expanded the expression, I will have to put this into algebraic form. So that's x, and how much do I have? That's 12. So after I expand the expression, it'll be 12x. Let's look at another one, a little bit complicated. Maybe this one is good. X plus 3 times x plus 1. Two things are multiplied, x plus 3 and x plus 1. So on the left side, I'm going to put x plus 3. It doesn't matter if you want to put x plus 1 on the left. It doesn't matter. It's fine. And on the top, I'll put the x plus 1. Then multiply. X times x is not 2x, it's x squared. This thing will also help you, since this size and this size is probably not this. I know it's not enough. No. Now x times 1 gives you x. X times 1 gives you x, and x times 1 is x. Over here, 1 times x, that's an x. I'm going to click this one so that I can flip, rotate. And then 1 times 1, that's a 1. 1 times 1 is 1. And 1 times 1 is 1. Now you have the rectangle. And all you gotta do is put them into algebraic form. I have 1 blue x squared, so I'll put x squared. You don't have to put the 1 in there. Plus 1, 2, 3, 4x. Plus 1, 2, 3. Plus 3. Done. As you noticed, I put the x squared first, I put the 4x second, and I put 3 the last. in general, put the highest exponent first, and then the second, and then the third, and then the fourth, if you have more than that. So now if you have an x third, then you'll put x third, and then x second, and then x, this is first, and no x. Okay. Now when you are doing this without these tiles, what you do is multiply each things inside the parentheses to the other parentheses. So that means I'm going to multiply x to x, x to the 1, and then 3 into x, 3 into 1. Once you multiply those, you have to combine like terms, and you'll get this x squared plus 4x plus 3. Right, so I'm going to exit out this NCTM. You can click this to have more practices. It has a bunch of more. There are some that look like this, one variable, but with two things in here. You have things like 2x, so please check it out. Alright, so I'm going to talk about the FOIL. It is, like I said before, it is the distributive property, but it's a very specific distributive property. FOIL is actually an abbreviation of first, outer, inner, and last. FOIL only works with 2 by 2 or 2 term by 2 term expressions like this. Two things inside the parentheses. Two things inside the parentheses. X plus 4 times x plus 2. Or it could be like a minus 7, 2x plus 3. You can have different variable. You can have a negative. You can have number in front of the variable, but it has to be like two things in two terms inside the two added terms. There you go. Two added or subtracted terms inside the parentheses. So what you do is first multiply the first things. First, that's the x and x. Multiply the outers, x and 2. Multiply the inners, that's 4 and x. And then multiply the lasts, the 4 and 2. Once you multiply those, you combine the like terms and you got the expanded expression. Same thing with here. A and 2x, that's the first. A and 3, that's the outer. Negative 7 2x, that's the inner. And negative 7 3, that's the last. But it does not work. The FOIL method does not work with things like this. The expressions like this and the three things in below. Obviously, it says x times x plus 2. There's only one term in here. This one has 2 though. One added term in here. So you can't do like first, outer, inner, and last. You can't do those. Over here, you have 3 terms, 3 added terms, and 2. The FOIL does not work. You can't do the first and then outer and then, I don't know, the inner, and then the last, So FOIL is very specific distributive property. I was actually had a chance to talk about this thing when I was substituting, and one student, a female student, said, well, I don't remember how very specifically, but we were talking about the students were doing the distributive property and the female student were using the FOIL method. And I said FOIL and distributive property were kind of the same thing. And she said, what do you mean? And so I explained them, and she was like, oh, that's true. She was pretty surprised about that. So that was kind of interesting. Anyway, so distributive property, it's a multiplying to each added term inside the other parentheses. That's what I thought. That's kind of what I thought as a meaning, or what to do. And when I was looking at this distributive property, I thought about, it's kind of like meeting a person in the other group, or meeting people in other group. So, like for example, Adam and Ben, they're in group. Cole and David are in the group. They know each other, so they don't actually have to introduce themselves. Like, think about in like beginning of the school year. These two are friends, but they don't know each other. So maybe at one point, during class or somewhere, they have to introduce themselves. And Adam and Ben, they don't have to do that. They know each other. But Adam and Cole, they don't know each other, so they introduce themselves. Adam and David do that as well. Ben and Adam, they know each other. They don't have to do that. But Ben and Cole don't know each other, so they do that. Ben and David do that as well. Another way you can look at this is like a practice game between schools. I was at high school and I played soccer. I still play soccer, and we have practice games. And when you have some school that comes into your school and you do a practice match, I don't think it's wise to go against the same school's teams. I mean, you can do that when you're doing on any day you can do that, right? So instead, it's good to go against the other school's teams. Say you're in varsity team of school A. You want to go against the other school's varsity team, other school's JV team, and other school's ninth grade team. I just put ninth grade because it doesn't have to be 2 by 2. It could be 2 by 3, 2 teams, 3 teams. They might have 3 teams. It could be 4 teams, I don't know. The JV team also can go against the varsities, the JV, and the ninth grade, Now, the last thing I want to talk about is breaking a problem down into smaller parts. I kind of talk about this in the first part of the video, not so much in this video, but I just want to point out that breaking it down and making it smaller parts so that you can manage it makes you, oh, I think I can do it, emotion. So like things that look hard becomes, oh, I think I can do that. I think that's not really hard. I've seen and I heard students make comments, things like that. After the teachers have explained, after the teachers have break it down, they kind of start to think like, oh, okay, it's a lot, but it's not that complicated, The things that you can do to break it down or make it make you understand the situation of a problem is to like draw a picture, describe it in your own words, underline or select necessary information. So, there might be some information that you really don't need, Read aloud. Read aloud allows you to listen, use your ear and your eye and your mouth. So you're using multiple senses so that you're activating different branches of your body, right? And also eye perspective. That's like, for example, if you see a problem that states Mr. O went to a store that is 50 miles away, and so on, instead of looking at that and be like, oh, Mr. O went to that, okay, instead, change that Mr. O into I, and be like, I went to the store 50 miles away. When you do that, you are making that problem more personal so that you can understand and accept those information easily. So use these techniques to break down a problem and understand a problem so that you can solve those problems and feel you can do it, right? Alright, so that's the end of the part 2. If you haven't checked the part 1, please go ahead and check the part 1. It's about multiplication and a technique that I use. Also, please check out the equation video as well, since I talked about the distributive property. The equation video that I showed is focused on 1 step and 2 steps, but I'm also talked about the equation itself, so I hope that is going to be helpful when you are solving an equation. Alright, so please leave a comment and subscribe my channel if you ever like my channel or the video, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.